Welcome to another episode of Tutorials with Ike. So we are going to be continuing our lessons on quantitative methods, and today we are going to be looking at budget lines. So now, when we talk about budget lines, just assume that maybe someone has given you money to buy two things. It could be anything: books and provisions, chicken and fish, fruits and vegetables, like anything. So now let's assume it's fruits and vegetables. So fruits and vegetables. So maybe you are going to the market and your mom says she's giving you 1,000 cedis to buy fruits and vegetables. That means this time your budget is 1,000 cedis, you get it? So that means you can't buy anything more than 1,000 cedis. The fruits and the vegetables, when you combine all of them, it can be more than 1,000 cedis. So if let's say fruits is 500 cedis, then the vegetables will have to be 500. If fruit is let's say 600, then the vegetables will have to be 400. You get it? It can't exceed 1,000. So we say our budget is equal to, let's say, 1,000 cedis for the fruits and the vegetables. So I've just illustrated it. You are going to the market and your mom gives you 1,000 cedis to buy fruits and vegetables. Then maybe you prefer more fruits than vegetables. So you decide to use more money to buy the fruits. So let's say for fruits, you decide to use maybe 700 cedis. And because you don't really like vegetables, you use the remaining, which is 300 cedis. For the vegetables, you get it? At the end of the day, the fruits and the vegetables have to be equal to the 1,000 cedis. You get it? Because that's your budget. You get it? So now if you want to represent this, or you want to write a budget line for this, we can let F represent fruits. So this fruit can be represented by F. Then the vegetables will be represented by VIN. Then the budget will make it B. You get it? So now if you want to write this as an equation, we can say, since 700 cedis is given as the fruit, you can say 700F, 700F, or 700 of the fruits plus the vegetables, which is 300. So 300 VIN is equal to our budget, which is 1,000 cedis. You get it? If you want to represent it, this is how you represent it. So in other words, the price of the fruits, which is 700 cedis of the fruits, then plus the price of the vegetables is equal to our budget. You get it? So we are assuming that all the fruits, if it's 20, 30, 40 or whatever, all of them was 700 cedis, and all the vegetables were 300 cedis, and all of them amounted to 1,000 cedis. So if you want to write it, we can just say the price of the fruits. That's our 700. So the price of the fruits then times F, which is the number of fruits you bought, plus the price of the vegetables, which is P of VIN, times VIN is equal to B, which is our budget. You get it? So the price of the fruits, which is this one here, is the 700 you see. Then the fruit is the quantity. So this one, we are just assuming that all what you bought. So if it's 20, then our F will be 20. Like, you get it? So here's the price of the fruits times the quantity you bought, which is the F, then plus the price of the vegetables times the quantity you bought is equal to the budget, which is 1,000 cedis. So this is all you need to know about budget lines. Now let's take a full question on budget lines for you to know how it looks like. So the question says, a person has 120 cedis to spend on two goods, into brackets XY, whose respective prices are 3 cedis and 5 cedis. Then we have A. Draw a budget line showing all the different combinations of two goods that can be bought with a given budget. B. What happens to the original budget line if the budget falls by 25%? C. What happens to the original budget line if the price of X doubles? Then D. What happens to the original budget line if the price of Y falls to 4 cedis? Draw the new budget lines in each case. So this is a very simple question. They say a person has 120 cedis. So how much you have is the same as your budget. So we can just say the person's budget is equal to 120 cedis. Then he's buying two commodities. So the first one, I use fruits and vegetables. This time they said X and Y. So they said whose respective prices are 3 cedis and 5 cedis. So always the first one is your X, the second one is your Y. So assuming they said he's going to spend on fruits and vegetables 3 cedis and 5 cedis, means the first one is fruits, the second one is vegetables. So since they said are 3 cedis and 5 cedis. It means the first one, so our X is 3 cedis. Then the Y is 5 cedis. You get it? So this is the information that has been given in the question. We have our budget to be 120 cedis. You get it? Then our X is 3 cedis and the Y is 5 cedis. Get it? So now A says draw a budget line showing all the different combinations of the two goods that can be bought with a given budget. So to draw a budget line, we already know that our X is 3 cedis. You get it? So we have 3X. If X is 5 cedis, to be 5X. If X is 10 cedis, to be 10X. If Y is 11 cedis, to be 11Y. You get it? So since our X is 3 cedis, it's going to be 3X. You get it? How much it is times the X or the commodity. Then plus Y is 5 cedis, so 5Y. You get it? So now we have 3X plus 5Y, and our budget is 120. So it's equal to 120. So now this is the equation we are getting. Because X is 3 cedis, Y is 5 cedis. So 3X plus 5Y then is equal to our budget. You always equate it to the budget. That's how you go about it. So now that we've got it, what did the question say? The question says A, draw a budget line showing all the different combinations of two goods that can be bought with a given budget. It means you should find how many goods of X you can buy and how many goods of Y you can buy. So if it's fruits and vegetables, how many fruits can you buy and how many vegetables can you buy? You get it? So now in doing that, what you're going to do is that you're going to find X and Y. And you can only do that if you assume that X is a particular number and Y is a particular number. You get it? And they have to be the same. So we always use 0 to make it easier. So what you're going to do is that for the first one, you're going to say if X is equal to 0, then you find Y. Then after, you're going to say if Y is equal to 0, find X. You can assume that if X is equal to 1, find Y. You can also assume that if Y is equal to 1, find X. But usually we use 0 to make it easier. You get it? So now if X is equal to 0, it means we are going to get a new equation. So we have 3 into brackets. Our X is now 0. So 3 into brackets 0 plus 5Y is equal to 120. This is our new equation. You get it? So 3 times 0 is 0. So now we have 5Y is equal to 120. So we can just divide this by 5, divide this by 5. Because 5 is multiplying Y. You get it? So that we can make Y stand alone. 5 will cancel itself and also cancel itself. So we have Y is equal to 120 over 5. 120 over 5 is 24. So our Y is 24. So if Y was, let's say, vegetables, it means you can buy 24 vegetables. You get it? So now that we've got the Y, we have to find X. And if we want to find X, we have to assume that Y is also equal to 0. Because this one, we made X is equal to 0. That's how we're able to find Y. So now we also assume that Y is equal to 0. So now let's find for it. So let's do it here. So if Y is equal to 0, so now this is the equation. 3X plus 5Y is equal to 120. Now let me just do it small here. So we have 3X plus 5 into bracket 0 to 5 into bracket 0 is equal to the same 120. The same 120. You get it? So we have 3X is equal to 5 times 0 is 0. So 3X is equal to 120. Then we divide both sides by 3. Divide both sides by 3. So 3 will cancel 3, then X will be equal to 40. So now we have 2 points. We have X is equal to 40. So we have 40, comma, then our Y is 24. And the question says we should draw a budget line. So we are just going to draw this on the graph. So our X is going to be 40, and our Y will be 24. That's all. So anytime they give you a question like this, the first thing is that you write the equation. So that 3X plus 5Y is equal to 120. So 3 times X then plus 5 times Y is equal to your budget, which is 120. Then you assume that if X is equal to 0, you find the Y. Then if Y is equal to 0, you find the X. If it's P and Q, you do the same thing. If P is equal to 0, what will be Q? If Q is equal to 0, what will be P? So always just equate all the variables to 0 and find the other one. You get it? So when you find the two of them, which is the X and the Y, you just punch it on the graph. Since you have 40 and 24, if we are punching it on the graph, it's going to be something like, so let me just clean this part. So now since we have the 2 points, if you want to draw it on the graph, we have our x to be 40. So this is the x-axis. So we can just put 40 anywhere. Then for the y-axis, we have y to be 24. You can just put 24 somewhere here. Then we join the 2 points. That's all. So we have 40, 24. That's all. You get it? So this is how we go about it if you're asked to draw the budget line. So that's for the A. So the A says draw a budget line showing all the different combinations of the two goods that can be bought with a given budget. So we are done with the A. Now let's go to the B. B says what happens to the original budget line if the budget falls by 25%? What happens to the original budget line if the budget falls by 25%? Now, the original budget line, first you write the original budget line. So you had 3x plus 5y is equal to 120. This is the original budget line. What is in the question? Now this says what happens to the original budget line. So what happens to this if the budget falls by 25%? And this is the budget, 120 cedis. So they are saying if your budget falls by 25%, what happens to it? So anytime they say if your budget falls by 25%, 50% or anything, you first find 25% of the budget. So 25% of 120. If they say if your budget falls by 50%, you find 50% of 120. If they say if your budget falls by 75%, you find 75% of 120. You get it? So the question says, what happens to the original budget line if the budget falls by 25%? So the first thing we do is we calculate 25% of 120. So we just do 25%. Percent is always over 100. So 25 over 100 times 120. So you can just punch this on the calculator. So we have 25 over 100 times 120. So we are getting 30. So this is 30. We are not done. So the question is, what if it falls by 25%? It means you have to subtract this 30 from the budget. What if it falls by 25%? So we subtract 30 from 120. So 120 minus 30. Then we are getting 90. So that means our new budget will be 90. So every other thing will remain the same. So we have our new budget line will be 3x plus 5y. It's no more equal to 120. It's now equal to 90. Because they say, what if the budget falls by 25%? What if later on your mom changes her mind that she's not giving you 120 again? Now she wants to give you 90 cedis. You get it? So now it moves from 120 to 90. So that's how we go about it. So now that we've got the new equation, we do the same thing for the first one. This one, we are going to assume that x is equal to 0, then we find y. Then we also assume that y is equal to 0, then we find x. So now let's just do it. So if x is equal to 0, then we have 3, it will be 3 times 0. So that one is not part. So we have 5y is equal to 90. Then we have 90 over 5 because this will be divided by 5. This will be divided by 5. So what is 90 over 5? So 90 over 5 is 18. So our y will be 18 if x is equal to 0. Then we do same for y. If y is equal to 0, if y is also equal to 0, to be 0, this y here will be 0. So to be 0 times 5, this side will be 0. So we have 3x is equal to 90. Then divide both sides by 3. Then x will be equal to 30. So now we have two new equations. We have into brackets 30, 18. Then we also plot it on the graph. So we find 30 on the x-axis because our x is 30. So let's assume 30 is here. Then what is our y? Our y is 18. So we assume that, let's say, 18 is here. So now you just connect the two. That's all. So we are done with the second one. If the budget drops by 25%, that's for the B. Now let's go to the C. What does the C say? The C says what happens to the original budget line if the price of X doubles. Now, this is the original budget line. So if the price of X doubles, what does it mean? This is X. So this is the price of X. So it means it's now going to be 3 times 2. So it's going to be 6X. The old one was 3X. Now they say if the price of X doubles, and the price is 3, so if 3 doubles, it becomes 6. So now we have 6X. For the Y, they didn't say to double or anything, so it's still the same. So 6X plus 5Y is equal to 120. So now this would be our new equation. Then what do? We do the same thing for the old one. So we assume that if X is equal to 0, what would be Y? So now we just write if X is equal to 0, then to be 6 times 0, so for here will be 0. So you have 5y is equal to 120. You get it? Then divide both sides by 5. Divide both sides by 5. Then y will be equal to, so we have 120 divided by 5. So we have 24. So we have y is equal to 24. Because 120 over 5 is 24. Then we do same for y. So if y is equal to 0, if y is equal to 0, all this will be 0 because 5 times 0. So we have 6x is equal to 120. Then divide both sides by 6 to make x stand alone. Then x will be 120 over 6. So you have 120 divided by 6. So we have 120 over 6. Then we are getting 20. So now our x is 20, our y is 24. So into brackets 20, 24. The x is always the first one, the y is always the second one. So 20, 24. So our x is 20, then our y is 24. Then we already have 24 here. So we connect the 24 to the 20. You get it. Then we get 20, 24. This one was 1830, so you can write it somewhere down. Then the last one, it says, what happens to the original budget line if the price of Y falls to 4 cedis? So let's do it. So you say, what happens to the original budget line if the price of Y falls to 4 cedi? So now the price of X remains the same because they've not said anything about it. Now they are saying if the price of Y falls to 4 cedis, the price of Y was 5 cedis. So now it's no more 5, it's now 4. So 3x plus 4y is equal to 120. So now we are just going to do the same thing. If x is equal to 0, so we write if x is equal to 0, this part becomes 0. So 4y is equal to 20. So 4y is equal to 20. So we divide both sides by 4. Then y is equal to, so 120 divided by 4 will give you 30. Then we do same for y. If y is equal to 0, then if y is equal to 0, all this part will be 0. So we have 3x is equal to 120. Because it's going to be 3x plus 4 into bracket 0 is equal to 120. But 4 times 0 is the same as 0. So 3x is equal to 120. Then we divide both sides by 3. Divide both sides by 3. So x is equal to 40. So we are getting 40 and 30. Because our x is 40, x is always the first one, y is always the second one. So 40, 30. Then we plot it. For x, you already have 40. Then our y is 30. So we punch 30 here. Then we connect the 30 to the 40. You get it. So you can just write into bracket 40, 30. So we are done. That's for the D. So since they said we should draw the budget line for all the cases, that's why we have to draw for all of them. You can also do it separate for all of them. It will be accepted. If they don't ask you to draw the budget line for each of the cases, then when you solve for the x and the y, you leave it like that. So that's all about budget lines. So in case they give you a question on it, just put in your mind the first thing. Just assume that the first one is equal to 0. So if it's P and Q, you ask yourself, if P is equal to 0, then what will be Q? Then you find Q. Then if Q is equal to 0, what will be P? Then you find for the two of them. Then the first one will become X, the second one will become Y. Then plot it on the graph. That's how you do it. It's very simple. So that's all for budget lines and the end of today's video. For the next video, we're going to look at supply and demand analysis. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And don't forget to share with your friends as well, your classmates, everyone. and I'll see you in the next video.